The truth about the Street Outlaws has finally been exposed by Big Chief himself. His words dragged up old risks, behind-the-scenes trouble, and a decision that eventually changed the crew's path. Join us as we unravel the banned episode that had pushed things over the edge. The list system. Years have passed since Justin Big Chief Shearer stepped away from Street Outlaws. Fans still talk about him, scroll through old episodes, and compare the show before and after his exit. His absence left a gap that no new racer has fully filled. Even as new faces popped up and the show pushed forward, the energy he carried couldn't be replaced. The list continued, but it lost a piece of its soul. Online communities continued to debate his departure. Some argue the show became too polished, too scripted, and that Big Chief's absence marked the real turning point. Others appreciate the new format, but admit that the heart of street racing, late-night meets, raw builds, and earned respect, felt diminished without him. His departure became a benchmark, a symbol for authenticity in a world leaning more toward entertainment. Justin Big Chief Shearer stood at the center of the street racing world in Oklahoma City long before the cameras ever rolled. He grew up around cars, working odd jobs at parts shops and helping his father with transmissions. Over time, he learned enough on his own, building, tuning, wrenching, and other techniques. He proved he could turn raw parts into serious street cars. As word spread, Chief gained respect among local racers. He became more than just a driver. He became a leader. In the early days, he created what became known as the List, a ranking of the top street racers in the 405, the area code for Oklahoma City. The List ranked the 10 fastest street racers in OKC. If you were on the list, you had status. If you weren't, you'd fight to get a spot. People challenged each other. They raced for pride, reputation, and respect. Not for TV or drama, just raw, street racing spirit. When Street Outlaws began, it brought that world to a wider audience. Fans saw the late-night meets, the breathing of engines, the call-outs, the challenges, the fear, and the thrill. Chief already had deep roots in that community. So he fit in, not just as a racer, but as a kind of organizer, mediator, and guard of the list. In many ways, he embodied what the list stood for: authenticity, real competition, and a code among racers. As the show grew in popularity, more people outside OKC watched. That brought pressure to ramp up the tension, the competition, and to make the show more television-friendly. Over time, the producers and racers began to change some of the rules. One of the biggest changes came when the show banned certain kinds of cars, specifically heavily modified pro mods, cars built for speed and tuned for track-like performance. For Chief and others who earned their status on the list with their cars, that ban hit hard. It meant many of the top racers had to ditch their rides, rebuild, or risk losing their place. It meant the playing field shifted, not just slightly, but fundamentally. What once rewarded grit and consistency began to favor whatever fit the new rules and what the producers wanted. This shift was not just mechanical. It started to change identities, alliances, and the meaning of being on the list. For longtime racers who invested sweat and time, worth and value became uncertain. For fans who loved the original grind and spirit, the show looked different now, like it had traded something real for something manufactured. That growing tension among racers between old ways and new rules, between authenticity and show business, was already brewing long before anything exploded. Then came what many now call that episode. It wasn't just any race night. It was the moment when the tensions, changes, and conflicts converged. The ban on pro mods forced a full reset. Everyone had to lose their spots on the list and fight their way back. It was a forced rebirth of the list structure. Veterans and newcomers alike all had to prove themselves again. For Chief, the shakeup wasn't just a new rule. It felt like a betrayal of what the list once meant. For years, he helped hold that system together, enforcing callouts, mediating disputes, keeping respect alive. Now the system itself changed under him. The list was still there, but the foundation that held it was shaken. The values he championed, consistency, loyalty, real street credibility, started to drift away. By the time viewers saw that shakeup on TV, many longtime fans recognized it as a turning point. What had been a raw record of street racing culture began to resemble reality show entertainment. The stakes felt different. The risks seemed managed. The values felt compromised. In that setup, the 405 list, once pure and sacred, the influx of television, cameras, rules, and changes, and the banning of pro mods, everything converged. What had built respect and reputation in the underground world of OKC street racing now stood at a crossroads. And that was the beginning of the end, or at least the beginning of a new chapter, for Chief, for the list, and for the fans. What came next would decide whether the show stayed true to its roots, or let its roots rot under new pressures. Conflict arises, the race master versus the rules. Justin, Big Chief Shearer, believed in a code for street racing, a code built on fairness, respect, real competition. Over time, though, cracks appeared in the structure of the show Street Outlaws, and those cracks revealed serious conflict. What began as subtle frustrations turned into open objections, a clash between what Big Chief thought the show stood for and what its producers were turning it into. At the heart of the conflict was what many fans called the race your way in policy. Under this policy, certain preseason races or events allowed new entrants, or returning racers, to skip the long climb up the list, the traditional ranking system for OKC street racers. In effect, you did not have to prove yourself through the list. You could just race your way in. According to reports, Big Chief felt this undermined the core of the competition. He believed the policy favored certain racers, especially those coming in from other regions, for example, a crew from Memphis, over longtime local racers who had earned their standing the hard way. To Big Chief, this wasn't just a new rule. It was a deviation of what the list was about. It shifted emphasis from steady craftsmanship and street reputation to fast-tracked entry for outsiders. This wasn't a small problem. Big Chief publicly criticized the policy structure. He argued that allowing racers to race in bypassed the discipline, the grind, and the reputation that the list had always demanded. For him, the show was supposed to represent real street racing, not some shortcut to fame or TV time. But this disagreement wasn't only about fairness. It spoke to deeper concerns about who controlled the show's identity, about what the show was becoming, and about whether the authenticity of street racing would survive as the show chased ratings and drama. Big Chief reportedly felt that the producers and some new entrants were more interested in TV-friendly formats than the raw essence of street racing. Those concerns reached a boiling point behind the scenes. Tension grew between Big Chief and parts of the cast, including a racer from another crew, Precious Cooper. Some accounts suggest that when filming for Street Outlaws, America's List began, conflicts over rules surfaced immediately. Although fans speculated that this feud triggered Big Chief's exit, the root problem went deeper, a structural disagreement over what the show should represent. From Big Chief's perspective, being race master under that policy meant enforcing rules he believed were flawed, essentially legitimizing a process he felt undercut the originals. Doing that would mean being part of something that no longer aligned with his values. He reportedly refused to carry forward a rule book he didn't believe in. It wasn't just about one rule or one policy. For Big Chief, it seemed like the show's direction had shifted gradually over several years, from grassroots street racing to a production-driven reality format. He saw increasing dramatization, behind-the-scenes creative differences with producers, and a diminishing role for the old-school culture he cherished. Eventually, that buildup of tension led to his decision to step away. Walking away wasn't just an emotional decision, it was loaded with meaning. It was a statement that racing wasn't supposed to be about shortcuts, scripted drama, or easy TV access. It was supposed to be real. That's why the conflict didn't just stay behind the cameras. It affected loyalties, friendships, crew dynamics. Some longtime supporters felt torn. Some new fans wondered what the fuss was about. For many behind the scenes, this was more than just a dispute. It was a dividing line. On one side stood those who embraced change, expansion, and new talent. On the other stood those like Big Chief, who feared that the changes threatened the soul of the sport. That clash of visions, legacy versus evolution, played out both quietly and loudly, until it reached a point where the only way forward was to leave. For Big Chief, though, the decision was clear. He couldn't support a system he didn't believe in. That moment, including the buildup of tension, the objections, the moral stand, transformed what had been a racing show into something else. For better or worse, it marked a code, and ultimately it set the stage for what became a controversial, often talked about exit. Justin Big Chief Shearer eventually decided to go on record, to speak directly to fans and explain why he stepped away from Street Outlaws. In a candid video posted on his YouTube channel in March 2022, he laid out his reasons. He said his departure was not about a single fight, crash, or drama clip, but about a buildup over years of changes he could no longer accept. He went further to explain that the show's direction and production's decisions had shifted away from what he believed the show always stood for: real street racing, integrity, and a code. He said that he couldn't in good conscience continue as race master while having to uphold rules and decisions he didn't believe in. In his video, Big Chief emphasized that the show had started trading authenticity for entertainment value. He insisted that many of the new policies, such as the race your way in format, undermined the principle of fair competition through grit, hard work, and reputation. To him, such policies didn't reflect what the street culture had built. He said plainly, the way things were going no longer resembled something he had helped build. He wasn't just upset about one rule or one moment, but about a general drift. He felt that the show had changed its soul. He didn't want to represent or defend rules he didn't agree with. Meanwhile, Big Chief clarified that this wasn't about a single altercation or rumor, though there had been talk about a feud between him and another racer, Precious Cooper. At that point, the show had moved toward the America's List format. Some viewers assumed that clash, or a conflict involving his partner, triggered his exit. But in his statement, Big Chief made it clear that the personal drama was not the main reason. He portrayed his exit as a matter of principle, a stand taken because he did not want to be part of a show that no longer aligned with his values. He used strong language, the direction things were going. The changes being made and the way decisions were being handled did not even resemble the foundation he helped to build. As he said, he couldn't stay on and defend rules and decisions that he didn't help make and didn't agree with. This revelation reframed what many called the banned episode. It wasn't just a matter of removing a controversial installment or silencing a fight. It underscored a deeper conflict over the heart and identity of Street Outlaws. For Big Chief, the banned episode, or more broadly, the arc of change, symbolized a betrayal of values, not simply a content dispute. Big Chief's statement clarified that his exit was voluntary, rooted in a desire to protect what street racing meant to him, even if that meant leaving the limelight. He also implied that money or fame were not reasons behind his decision. The choice was about respect for the culture, for the list system, for fairness, and for real competition. For him, Street Outlaws wasn't just a show, it was a legacy. And when that legacy was being reshaped into something he couldn't stand behind, he walked away. After that video, many viewers reinterpreted the disappearance of Big Chief from new episodes not as a mystery, but as a deliberate choice, a statement. The banned episode came to represent the moment when reality TV production demands clashed with street racing authenticity. For fans, it remains a conversation starter. It isn't just a missing chapter, it represents a turning point in the culture of the show. In that light, Big Chief's revelation does more than explain absence. It underscores a clash of values: authenticity versus entertainment, tradition versus shortcuts, passion versus ratings. It reframed the narrative around his exit, not as dramatic fallout or personal scandal, but as a stand for principle. And for many fans, that stand earned him renewed respect. Big Chief's exit and revelation reminded everyone that racing is about more than speed or spectacle. His stand continues to echo, not just on the streets of Oklahoma City, but in garages, online discussions, and the hearts of those who love real racing. Even if he no longer appears on Street Outlaws, his explanation re-established him in the eyes of the community as someone who raced and left on his own terms. The legacy and its consequences. Weeks passed after Justin Big Chief Shearer walked out, and the world around the show began to shift in ways people didn't quite see coming. With Big Chief gone, the ripples changed the tide for Street Outlaws more than many expected. Right away, the show's structure took a new shape. In the season that followed, the producers enforced the ban on heavily modified Pro Mod cars from the OKC list. With that ban in place, many old-school racers who once relied on those powerful builds had to strip down, rebuild, or step aside. The racing field got reshaped overnight. Cars that once roared with horsepower had to give way to builds that met the new, stricter standards. The list, a badge of street cred, lost some of its old life, its old weight, and some of its longtime players. That shift in setup didn't just change cars. It shook up relationships, crew dynamics, and fan trust. The show began leaning more on newcomers, fresh faces and fresh builds, while veterans watched from the sidelines or left completely. For many longtime fans, the change felt like an erasure of what Street Outlaws once stood for. The gritty nights, the under-the-radar builds, the reputation earned on open roads, they seemed to fade under the new system. Meanwhile, Big Chief didn't vanish from the scene entirely. He stepped away from the TV cameras, but not from racing. He dove deeper into his own shop life with Midwest street cars, turning wrenches, tuning engines, and rebuilding cars the way he knew best. He began showing up again, not for cameras or scripted drama, but for raw street-style racing, honest builds, and nights spent under the hood. From that distance, he watched the show carry on without him. Producers added new drivers. They kept the wheel turning. But many fans felt the energy had changed. The heart of the show seemed thinner. The charisma and gravitas he brought was hard to replace. Ratings reportedly dipped, and social media lit up with debates. Some viewers missed the old guard, others accepted the new direction. Some former teammates tried to carry the torch, but the connection wasn't the same. Inside the crews, divisions showed up. What once was a tight-knit group, grounded in loyalty, shared rides, and mutual respect, began to fray under production pressures and shifting rules. The 405 crew, once anchored by Big Chief's leadership, lost a stabilizing force. New alliances formed, others drifted, and many longtime watchers felt the foundations shifting under their feet. Yet for Big Chief, this was also a liberation. Free from filming schedules, producer demands, and TV-style drama, he returned to what drove him in the first place: real racing. He took on builds that mattered to him. He let passion steer him again. As some longtime followers put it online after Chief's exit, the fallout turned them off from watching the show. Without Chief running things, it was all going to be about the drama and nothing else. That reaction underscored what many felt. With Big Chief gone, the show lost not just a racer, but a guiding principle. For some, Street Outlaws was never the same. For others, it evolved. Over time, Big Chief's name came to stand for something different, a symbol of authenticity, resistance, and refusing to trade values for convenience. He didn't disappear, he stepped back. He recalibrated. And by doing that, he reminded a lot of people what street racing used to mean outside of cameras, scripts, and studio rules. In garages and late-night street meets, he built new projects. He tinkered, tuned, raced. He kept the gears spinning. He kept the thrill alive. Meanwhile, in living rooms and online communities, fans debated what was lost and whether it could ever be regained. Even younger racers look up to him. They study his builds, mimic his techniques, and measure themselves against the standards he set. In many ways, Big Chief's influence stretched beyond the show. It shaped a generation of street racers who value skill, persistence, and fair competition over shortcuts or fame. He didn't just leave Street Outlaws, he left a code, a legacy, and a challenge for others to live up to. The aftermath of that ban and his exit wasn't neat. It wasn't clean. It was messy, raw, and full of tension. But it did something few exits do. It made people take a hard look at what they believed in. It pushed them to ask, was Street Outlaws a show or a culture? In the end, the void Big Chief left behind was real. But the road he took afterward showed that sometimes leaving is more than giving up. It's forging a path on your own terms. And in that choice, some things may fall away, but others, the ones that matter, stay alive.